Let's face it, B2B sales is in trouble. Blast emails, cold calling and irrelevant messages, not to mention an economy causing uncertainty to spike, is creating a canyon-sized divide between buyers and sellers alike. The answer? Deep sales. Today, organisations that adopt deep sales strategies and technologies are setting themselves up for long-term success with an approach that sets their sellers up to be seen as trusted, strategic advisors by the buyers they serve. We at the world's largest professional network are sitting down with some of the most innovative sales voices today to discuss what it means to bring deep sales into an enterprise organisation. Let's dive in with our host, Rob Humphrey.
I'm Rob Humphrey, your host for the Deep Sales Podcast. And on this episode, we talk to the Chief Sales Officer at Capgemini, Jeroen Versteeg. And this guy has an interesting perspective on relationship building and modern sales techniques. Here's what he had to say.
I think at the end of the day, recessions are the best time to win market share.
Let's get started with the basics. Jeroen, you were a CEO, Jeroen, at two Capgemini businesses earlier in your career. You're now the Chief Sales Officer at Capgemini. What did you learn as the CEO that helps shape your sales teams and how you go about sales strategy?
First of all, I think if you're in charge from a corporate perspective, you have to have your feet in the mud, because otherwise everything becomes very conceptual and everything becomes very much PowerPoint-like. You have to experience how it is to be in operations, to have difficult clients nagging about all kinds of things, big challenges. But I think also on a perspective, like there are big differences across the world on how you do business. The people, like how you build relationship is different in the US than in the Nordics or in Asia. And I think you have to experience that yourself to make sure that you also learn the differences in how sales is done across the world.
Give me an example. Like, what's the difference between doing sales in, say, the United States versus Denmark? What's the difference?
I think that if you look to the US, of course, personal relationships are important. Like I think one thing important on Monday morning is that you start talking about college football, because everybody relates to that. Caricature a little. But then it's pretty straightforward. I think that if you go really to the Nordics, to Denmark, Sweden, personal relations matter much more than, for instance, in the US. In the US, I think it's much more focused on a business relationship. If, for instance, go to Finland, you have to build up trust. Like in Japan, for instance, before you really can do business. So I think there is a mix between what is really the business conversation and how's the personal conversation, and that really differs from country to country.
Yeah, for sure. We could probably do a whole episode on that, but you mentioned like getting in the mud a little bit, like really understanding what's going on. Obviously, you have a big job. You've got a lot of people around a lot of different places. What do you mean by getting in the mud? Can you share an example and like how that's been beneficial?
Well, you have to go through sales cycles as well. Like what I always said is like, if you want to be a sales leader in the group, first of all, you have to make sure that you're involved with clients day by day, but you also have had the experience of closing deals, but also engaging with clients where things are getting a little bit more difficult and challenging. And then how do you make sure that you work your way out of it? First of all, looking at the interest of the client, but also looking at the interest of the company by yourself. And I think you have to go through that. And like, especially like we're a large service company. So yes, you run sometimes into issues that things are not working or you don't have the right people at the right time. And then how do you resolve that? And that's often nitty gritty stuff, but you have to go through it yourself to understand that it's not only strategy and high level execution, but it's also problem solving when you're in the field.
As it is here at LinkedIn, we got a little thing where when we hire new people, or sometimes around the table, we ask people what's not on their LinkedIn profile. Are you willing, Jeroen, to share something that maybe is not on your LinkedIn profile?
In the weekends, I'm a soccer referee, so on amateur level, so nothing big. So don't expect me to go to to lead the Champions League final, even though it would be nice.
But serious business out there, though. So the amateur league is serious business.
Yeah. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's trying to do something good for society, and also good is to have some exercise at the same time. So it's a combination of the two.
So my music questions, Jeroen. Beatles or Rolling Stones, if you had to choose?
Rolling Stones.
Okay. Taylor Swift or Snoop Dogg?
Oh my God, my kids are gonna laugh at this part. I think Taylor Swift.
Your kids are going to be proud.
No, I'm not sure. We'll see.
All right, let me throw one. I don't even know if you'll know these bands. Well, you'll know one of them. Bob Marley and the Wailers versus The Clash. You know those bands. It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I think Bob Marley.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Another thing that strikes me, and of course, I spent the time to read your bio and read your LinkedIn profile. Turns out you have a undergraduate degree in computer science and an MBA. So it makes me think, how do you think about the necessity of, combining tech and sort of business skills in the modern sales force, and particularly at Capgemini?
If we're talking to clients, and basically we want to be the business and technology partner for our clients. And it's all about business outcomes. So first of all, it's all about understanding the industry, the client, and which way is the client heading. And then how can you use technology to make sure the client realizes that business outcome? And in our field, I don't believe that if you don't understand technology, you can be at sales. You have to understand technology, and that doesn't mean that you have to understand everything deep down, but the fact that I do have that background in computer science really helps me understand that what we're doing for clients, because you have to at least conceptually understand it. And if we're looking to the world of technology today, more and more is possible. Yes, that's true, but under the hood, it's getting more and more complex. And you have to be able to grasp that technology, because otherwise you're gonna promise the sky to our clients while it's very difficult or very expensive to realize.
Yeah, for sure. One of I think that convergence is probably pretty well seen as well, that combination of skill sets. One of the obvious things that's in the news now, ChatGPT, generative AI. How do you think tools like generative AI are going to change the sales process?
Okay, let me first give a statement. You hear a lot about AI. And ChatGPT is not AI. It's not. It's very advanced machine learning, language recognition. It's a great product, absolutely, but it's not AI. So it's a little bit of a hype term. But if you look to generative AI, I think there are two dimensions. First of all, it is very strong for optimizing sales process, because it gives the opportunity to analyze large amounts of data, which can give you insight and help you identify patterns, buying patterns, patterns in terms of intention to buy from new clients. That's one side. And the second element is that it can automate tasks. It can automate tasks in the sales process. I think there's still too many administrative tasks in general about sales. You can automate them and make it happen and create more efficiency from that. But let's also be very clear. It will never replace, and that's my strong conviction, the fact that you need a level of intuition when it comes to sales. And it's about building interaction with people, and it's about building relationship with people. And therefore, we still need people in the sales process. So I don't think that at the end of the day, computers which only will do the sales process. We will still need humans involved.
I'm pretty thankful for that, Jeroen. I got to say, I'm very thankful for that particular statement, because I don't want to be replaced. That's for sure. And I think we should talk about deep sales a little bit. I think that's probably something that's on the top of a lot of people's minds. I mean, at LinkedIn, we talk about the concept of deep sales, which essentially is the emphasis of technology and insights combined to really maximize your time and ultimately your customers' time. What's your take on deep sales?
I think it's getting more and more important because I think that we have to realize that normally the sales cycles are getting more complex. I think for two dimensions. When I started as a sales guy, I still remember my first lesson in sales is that you arrange an appointment with a client, you ask him what the problem is, you write down the problem, you go back, you gather some smart people, and you put something on paper, you go back and try to sell it. It's that easy. I think the world has changed, and our clients are not expecting that we are waiting till they come with the problem. They are expecting us to come proactively to them and tell them what their challenges of tomorrow are, come them with insights, what is happening in the rest of the industry, and come with suggestions on what they can do better. So that means that you have to have, as said earlier, the insight in the business, insight in the clients, but you also have to understand, trying to read what the clients go to tomorrow. So I think what is asked of a salesperson or an account exec today is much more challenging than say 10 or 20 years ago. So it's all about the right people at the right place. It's about getting the right talent aboard. It's about training them. And it's trying to make sure that you have the right level of people engaging with the right level in the client. And therefore you need those insights on what is happening to make sure you help those salespeople doing their work. So it's getting more and more intelligence-based, insight-based. So it's crucial.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the idea of elevating your sales professionals. Back in the old days when I started, it seemed to me that, okay, everyone's on the curve and, we should focus on the people with the highest potential or who have the biggest accounts or whatever. That's changed, right? So how are you going about up-leveling all of your sellers and moving that performance curve?
It starts with the fact is that you identify, okay, where do I want my account execs and my salespeople? And I want to differentiate between account execs and salespeople. What do I expect from them? And what is my expectation in terms of, so for salespeople, my focus is, okay, it's primarily you have to convert opportunities into sales. Account execs is much more on making sure that you manage the total portfolio, which has to do with the client, which includes relationship building, multi-level selling, et cetera, et cetera. So it starts with making very clear what you expect from people, and then make sure that you're also, and not only support them in terms of training and in terms of tooling, but also then making sure that what we do is we certify our account execs and our salespeople to a certain level, so we can match them against the maturity of a client, but also the maturity of a client relationship. Because you don't want your very experienced salespeople in very small clients, but neither the opposite. So I think that matching the client and the sales of the account executives is very important from that perspective. And you have to look to the team setting. I think something that we forget very often is, how do you make sure that the team which is involved in your client, especially a large client, how is working? Again, in relationship with the client context.
Yeah, and that complexity of everyone touching the client at different points is really something that I'd like to underscore. I'm glad you brought it up. Let me ask you this question, Jeroen. How many salespeople roughly do you have? How many salespeople are you looking after?
I think globally we have about 4,500 salespeople.
Wow, that's significant. What are you doing differently? What's Capgemini doing differently with regard to sales now that maybe you weren't doing last year or a couple of years ago or pre-pandemic?
Like my mantra, what I always say to salespeople, I want you to have insight-driven, forward-looking, and proactive. That's what I want. And so insight-driven is a little bit what we touched just now. Is truly making sure that you understand what is happening at the client. Forward-looking is that basically that you can predict what's going to happen in the client next. And proactively is that you engage with the right person in the right conversation at the right time. And because we always forget timing, and we always look at what we have to sell, what we have to push. And it starts with the fact that you have to have a clear account strategy. You have to make clear, okay, what is your value statement towards the client? And you have to make sure that everybody who's involved in the client, whether it's sales or delivery or any other function, make sure that it's clear what we want to achieve. And like the elevator pitch, it's something we have grown up with, Rob, but I think it still has its value. If you meet the CEO of your client in the elevator and he asks, what are you doing for us? You have to be able in 30 seconds to articulate what is the value that you're bringing to your client. So I think that is really crucial. So I think that's the starting point, and then it's about making sure that you have a clear strategy on what you want to achieve. What is your portfolio of clients want to look like? What is the positioning that you want to have? Then, how do you want to achieve it? With what kind of portfolio? What is the positioning? What is the balancing between value and volume that you have?
Yes.
So I think, and then it's also about sticking to it and making sure that you execute on it. And keep your and make sure that you are able and capable to identify where it goes well and where it goes wrong. And like we always tend to focus on where things go badly, try to repair. Sometimes in some circumstances, it's better to focus on where it goes very well and try to push that a little bit more, because maybe I think often you can get more in pushing the ones who are really performing than trying to repair at the bottom. But still, you have to repair what is broken. So I'm personally obsessed with win rate, because for me, win rate is still the not the only one, but it's a key indicator of a sales engine. And when win rates are becoming too high, people are too cautious and probably leaving market share. If win rates gets too low, people are probably chasing all kind of opportunities, right? And running around and burning BD money. And secondly, getting extremely depressed because they don't win anything. So making sure that you have this way of looking at it. And one thing that we did already now for years is that we standardized all the reporting. We standardized the reporting all across the group from the top to the bottom. So which has, first of all, people stop using Excel to make their own reporting. Personally, I'm a big fan of Excel, but not for reporting. So that's one. And secondly, that you use the same terminology and you look at the same parameters and you look at it in the same manner. And it's consistent from top to bottom on how you discuss the kind of, because I think, especially in large companies, I think that's always the challenge. How do you make sure that you keep a level of consistency across the board?
Yes.
Because otherwise it becomes a mess.
It does become a mess. And, you're hitting on a lot of different sales habits. At LinkedIn, we kind of analyze a lot of different habits. And there's 3 habits that really separate top performers from other sellers. And you kind of touched on almost all 3 of them. The first one is, top performers are, I'd say, ruthlessly prioritizing potential accounts. Sounds like you're doing a lot of that also. How are you going about that?
To be honest, we still have a long tail. And our long tail is a little bit slow. So we're not perfect from that perspective. But for me, it starts with local qualification. If you want to, you should never win. You should never lose the ability of winning new clients as a sales organization. You should always have it. But you should have a qualification also on clients, because clients have to have a certain potential. Clients have to have a certain fit with you. That's also in the interest of the client, not only of your interest. And so it has to be a well taken decision. Okay, what clients are we? Which prospects are we going to pursue, and which one we're going to leave? And then I think at the end of the day, you have to have a cycle where you're really going to evaluate. Okay, what is our portfolio of clients? Because let's also be clear, especially we are living in uncertain times now. If you're not balanced in terms of sectors, at least if you have the possibility to be balanced over sectors, you have an issue.
And that brings up like a more broader topic, right? And we should talk about it a little bit. I'm interested in your reaction. Economic uncertainty, potential recession in the United States as an example. This is definitely creating a more challenging B2B environment for businesses. How are you approaching this sort of time frame of macroeconomic challenges?
First of all, Rob, I'm becoming a little bit of an old guy. I think
Me and you both.
this is probably my fourth I stopped counting, fourth or fifth recession.
I got four.
I still remember, I lay awake at the first one, but I stopped doing it over time. So because recession is coming up, I think at the end of the day, recessions are the best time to win market share. So I think it's the best opportunity. Like in good times, in a service model, and in good times, you always have the limitation of resources and all elements to grow even more. If you're in a recession, you don't have that challenge. So this is the time to grab market share. So I think this is actually the best of times to get that potential. I think it goes back again. It's okay. What are the clients doing, and where's the money? And let's be clear. Even in recession, like we live in a time where digital transformation is the trend. That trend is not going away. It might slow down a bit, but there are many sectors and many clients in the world who simply cannot stop innovating.
Yes.
If you look what is happening in the energy sector, in the telco sector, in the automotive sector, those companies cannot stop investing. That doesn't mean that they're not cost cutting at the same time. They are, because they also have to look at the capex, at their opex, at their bottom line. So it's also understanding where are clients investing or where not. And I think it's making sure that you point your sales organization to where the money is and where the investment and the opportunities are. And if you're in a part where there is indeed cost cutting, that you have the portfolio of offerings to help your clients with that cost cutting. But again, you have to realize, for instance, what a lot of clients do in such a situation, they go into vendor consolidation, whether it's in any kind of field of business. So that comes back to the portfolio of clients. If you are small in a client and the client goes in vendor consolidation, you're probably going to be out. If you're large in a client and you go into vendor consolidation, you're probably going to be in, and you're probably able to win share and to increase your volume. And so that goes back to the strategy. If you have too many small clients and there's a vendor consolidation play, you're going to disappear.
Yeah, for sure. I think your viewpoint's pretty optimistic about going forward. I share your optimism. I wouldn't say it was always that way, and mainly because during the last, couple years, we got really remote, and I'm wondering specifically if your approach has changed as an organization around the rise of remote work on both the seller and the buyer side. Like, this has definitely impacted you, right?
I think one of the lessons that we learned, we thought it was very difficult to get everybody remote working, but I think we learned now it's much more difficult to get people back to the office. And so back to basic clients. Yeah. And I think, and also with colleagues I speak across the world, everybody has that challenge. And everybody reacts different to it. But let's be clear, we're not going back to a model pre-COVID. We are in a hybrid model. And that's going to stay. I think I think everybody learned a big lesson. Okay, how do you interact with people via a screen, like we're meeting today? And I think we also learn is that doing difficult conversations or complex conversations via PC is very difficult. You have to, at the end of the day, people are doing business with people, and I've been very eminent. People have to go back to the office, not full time, but they have to be back in the office, and they have to be back at clients and facing clients, because there's no way in a B2B relationship you can do it only virtual.
Let's talk about this topic for a little bit: the building relationships in the Zoomified world with technology, and specifically for me, I've been at LinkedIn 13 years selling. I don't know. Like, if I go to another company, first question I ask is, do you have a sales navigator? Because for me, like, when I go into these Zoom calls, I've done my homework. Like, I know all the relationships. I mapped them out. I literally mapped them out on my desk. I have a huge sheet of paper. I map it out. So when I'm talking, I can go, Jeroen, I know so-and-so, whatever. And I don't say it like that, but I weave it in, and I understand all that type of stuff. So I guess my question to you is like technology wise, what are you arming your sales teams with, and how's that going in terms of like technology for relationship building?
So Rob, we're a heavy LinkedIn Sales Navigator user.
Oh my God, thank God. I didn't even know. I wasn't even sure.
Oh, we are.
God.
We are. I think probably one of the largest. No. For us, it's a default tool that our whole sales engine and account engine is using. Because let's be clear, like one of the crucial things when it comes to account planning, but also when it comes to deal conversion, is at the end of the day the power map. What is the power mapping into the client? How is that moving? And we all know about formal and informal power and who's influencing it, and who is on your who's a supporter, who's supporter of the competitor. You really need to know it. And then it's not only about the history, like what is the power map in the current client, but where is he or she coming from? What is the experience with working with you or working with your competitor? Who had the relationship? Can we? Because it is not that. Of course it's also what are the interests of the person? What do they find important? Do they care about long-lasting relationship, or do they really care? Are they very much focused indeed on business outcome, or are they more technology focused? Are they really do they find price important, or do they want to have a discussion about TCO? It's also these kind of elements which are. It's about understanding the person also in the context of the further team and in the context of the company that you need to know. So, how the power map evolves, also in relationship to your competition, is crucial, because if you don't have that, I don't believe you can do account planning and account execution in a proper manner. It's elementary.
It is elementary, and I think it's actually sometimes surprising that people don't do the homework. I mean, listen, right in your profile, you say you believe technology leads to social, cultural, and economic change, and you served on the Social Economic Council, which is an organization that provides advice to the cabinet of the Netherlands. Like, if I didn't know that, that would be embarrassing, and it wouldn't allow me to ask you, like, what you've learned from that stuff that you've done, like the cabinet of the providing information to the cabinet and being an advisor. What has that taught you about, like, selling ideas to governments? That must have informed your own career, correct?
So, it learned me two things. First of all, there's still a lot of people who don't understand technology. So, especially but that's one. Second thing, what I learned is that government's legislation always is behind technology moves. And thirdly, I think what we should not forget is that when we talk about new technologies, that what we don't take into account is how at the end of the day the public is going to react to it. And let me give you a very example. Like,
please,
when social media arose, like, we had a lot of visionaries who said, okay, what the impact was on what is going to happen on it. What nobody really predicted is that it would lead to a huge wave of people focusing on privacy. And that privacy legislation now across the world is much more stringent than it was when the social media arose. And that's something that there is always an effect of society on technology, and that is also impacting that use of society, and so of that technology. And I think that's also something that we learned. Like, don't forget the people equation when it's about technology.
Do you actually see, your sellers, all the people in your selling organization, adopting or practicing this habit of, identifying buyers based on, their intent to buy or their likelihood to engage? Do you see them sort of adopting that practice?
I think it's more and more, and because at the end of the day, I think we live in a world that if you get an RFI in your mailbox, it means that you're too late.
Yeah,
because somebody is having the discussion behind your back already for 6 months.
Yep.
And so if you get an RFI in your last client, which you didn't know about, you're too late. But you didn't read the client, you don't have the connections, you don't engage in the right conversation, and you don't understand where people are going. And so that's, for me, that's kind of basic. And I think that's what you have to explain to people. And then you have to help to support people with the right tooling and the right insights to make sure that they change the game and that they start understanding what are these buying patterns and what are these trends. And let's be clear also, and this starts very simple. Everybody knows when there's a new CEO coming, okay, something will change, right? If the CEO is leaving, something will happen. If there's an investment or a big divestment, something will happen. If there is a financial crash, if you're now very dependent on the banking industry in the US, something is going to happen. Okay. And then what are the decision makers? And then what are they likely to do? Are they going to shut down all the investments at once, or are they going to play different bets? What is going to happen? And that goes back to having those insights and having that understanding, and trying to make sure that you're able to read what is going to happen, and have that forward-looking dimension, which is so important.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I love that you said, look, if you get the RFI, the email, you're too late. I mean, in my opinion, one of the most important habits of top performance is getting beyond connections and finding, allies, and both have prospects and customers that are going to help you sort of move along, not just the decision makers or budgetary decision makers, but like those allies in the organization. And I think that's what the modern relationship sort of sales process looks like.
Just to add one thing.
But please do. Please.
Stay loyal to your contacts. Because what often happens is that you build a relationship, and people build a relationship with somebody. People move out or getting less important role, and those people are dropped.
Yeah.
Those people might likely to come up somewhere else again. You should, if you want to be personal relationship, it also means that you pay attention to people even if they have nothing to spend. It's simply called respect. It's the way you treat also not only your personal connection, but also your business connection. Make sure that you stay connected with those people, because it will. Yes. And of course, it will not always translate into deals, but it will build up a large network, which at the end of the day will benefit you.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something that I've been thinking about personally a lot as well. Is you gotta, in any relationship, sales or life, your family, everybody, you've got to maintain the relationship. And just because someone leaves, your key contact at Acme leaves, you need to know they went to another guy. You should send them a note and say, hey, congratulations on your new job at the competing company, and I'm still here for you, type of thing. I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways is, maintain your relationships and always be connecting. I think you're absolutely 100% right. I appreciate you sharing that. Jeroen, I wanted to thank you on behalf of LinkedIn Sales Solutions and myself for joining the Deep Sales Podcast. Literally, it was refreshing. I'm actually really excited to have talked to you, and I appreciate you joining. We have a lot of good takeaways from my vantage point, mostly what modern sales looks like. It turns out a lot of it's old school tactics, like building and maintaining relationships, coupled with all the new technology, and hopefully getting back out there in the field. So thank you.
You're very welcome, Rob. I really enjoyed the conversation as well. And indeed, some things never change, but we also have to be open for the new technology opportunities, and also where LinkedIn is leading the way. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we're happy to have you as a customer, and keep your sales deep over there at Cap Gemini. Okay, Jeroen?
We will.
All righty, cool.
Thank you for joining the Deep Sales Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and share. See you on our next episode. Or for more deep sales insights in the meantime, check out the LinkedIn Sales blog. As always, happy selling.